This is James Wong Howe, one of the world's great cinematographers. He uses a camera as an artist would use his brushes. 8 times a nominee, twice winner of Hollywood's most coveted prize, an Academy Award, Oscar winner James Wong Howe is a cameraman's cameraman.
Jimmy, is this one of the first films that you shot?
No, Milt. Mary Miles Minter. I shot her in a film called Drums of Fate. Mm-hmm. That was my first picture with her. And I remember that I made some stills of her, and she liked them very much. She said, "Could you make me look like this in the movies?" I said, "Yes." And later on, I told her I'd be her cameraman, that she wanted to see me. So I went down to see her in her dressing room. She had all the pictures there. She told me why she liked the pictures. Mm-hmm. She said, "I made her eyes go dark," because she had light, pale blue eyes. In those days, we used an orthochromatic film, and blue went white. And that's why we couldn't get a white cloud against a blue sky, because blue went white and the white cloud, and they blended in. So I said yes, and I walked out. I said, "My God, how did I make her eyes go dark?" And I didn't remember, So I walked out there, and I stood where she stood, and I happened to look into a big piece of black velvet. I said, "That must be because the eye is like a mirror and reflect color." So I held a little mirror up. It went dark, and I turned up to the skylight, and it was light. So I had a big frame made, 5 or 6 feet, and I could raise and lower, and I cut a hole in it, and I put my lens through, and that's how I made all her close-ups. And the dark reflection in her eyes, it helped it. And then also it prevented from people staring at her.
Yes.
So the news got around that Mary Miles Minter had imported herself an Oriental cameraman. He hides behind black velvet, and he makes her eyes go dark. Well, I became a genius. Frank, when you make a movie, you got to have a screenplay, a story. Well, that story really dictates to what we're going to do, how to shoot it, how to photograph it, how to direct it, how to act it. Everyone is subservient to that. We can go one way or the other to get our own ideas in it, but not get our personalities in it, you see. We try to, as a cameraman, I try to keep the mechanics out as much, not to interfere with the scene. And I really try to find the most simple approach in lighting. I don't like to complicate the scenes too much, unless it's a nightclub and you want jazzy lighting. Well, I'll complicate it, but usually I like to keep it simple. I don't want my photography really to get in the way of the story, of the acting. You know?
Go ahead. A cameraman's job is to be subservient to the story, then,
right,
isn't it?
Right. And the actors also, and the action, and the director. We just can't put our own selves in it. Many directors will make a beautiful shot. When he goes to the editing room, he don't want to cut it out because it's his idea, it's his beautiful shot, but the shot doesn't belong, and he leaves in that and gets in the way. So when a director goes in to cut his own film, he should not be the director of that film. He should be an editor now. As I read a script, I begin to feel the way I should light the different scenes for its mood and atmosphere. Now here's the old man in the sea. The writer writes, and he says, close up on the old man as he rests his head against the gunwale. His eyes close and he rests for some time. Just then a small bird came towards the skiff from the north, right out of the ocean. Close up of the bow, a small bird lights on the line. That's a fish line. The old man opened his eyes and turned to look at the bird. The old man could see he was very tired. How old are you? Is this your first trip? The bird looks at the old man, and the old man speaks to him again. Well, you know, it's wonderful how writers can dream up these things. But he forgets what the cameraman, how are you going to get the bird to fly in from the ocean and light on the gunwale or on the fish line. That's a problem. Every picture has its set of problems, but a cameraman cannot change the script. We're subservient to that story. We can't go and use our handiwork and try to decorate. We see a plain, nice wall. Someone throws one of these shadows. We call them cucaloras. I don't know where they ever got the name of cucaloras. Or a tree shadow or something. And to decorate it, well, that's a little handiwork. And what the picture, the story is, something simple, you see? And it's beautiful to have a plain wall that you can just splash a little light and give a little wash, a little texture, and compose it right, see? Because first of all, you have to have a good story. That's how you start. Without a story, you just make a scenic shot. Just like when I go on a set, I get a set, I can light it, the mood, whatever it calls for. But nothing happened until the magic really happened, until you get the actors on there and they start performing. And you see the director start placing them a certain way and listen to the dialogue to get the timing just right. Well, often we make 52 takes to get one good one. So it's a very, very complicated business. Now, in lighting, sometimes I spend an hour in lighting a set. Some actor, someone might come around, accidentally kick a light. And he said, oh, I'm so sorry, apologize, you know. And I take a look. I said, my God, that's beautiful. I never intended it that way. I found something by accident. Somebody kicked the light, they kicked it in the proper place. I should have had that in the first place. So I thank him, and they can't get over it, you see. Yeah. But I don't go about always kicking lights around, you see.
I see.
But it just happened. Like an artist, he may get an accidental highlight someplace in his picture. Maybe a little drop of paint, he looks at it, oh, that's terrific. A little spot of red gives him perspective. I had a reputation, what they call low-key lighting. I don't like to overlight. I like to keep it as natural. Now, sometimes I'll let people walk through a scene and the background will be light, and he'll walk through maybe half lit or silhouetted. So I got a reputation. They gave me a nickname. You know what they call me? Low-Key Howe. So it's a balance of one walks through a room, he's not always completely lighted. And you let him walk through passage, it gives you movement. And it gives you a little intrigue in what's going to happen and things. So if you will play, I generally light, cross light. That's how I throw the shadows out of the picture. Now if I cross light, one side of the face is going to be lighted, the other one's going to be half-tone or silhouette. So the side of the face that's lit, I play it against a darker background, where the darker side is against the lighter background. So that gives me that contrast, richness. I never light the light side and put the light side on the wall. It has a tendency to blend in. You weaken the whole thing. You lose the shape, the form. So that's a good thing to remember. Well, you know, being a cameraman, you have many things to contend with. But one of the most important is light. Artificial light, daylight. One time I had an experience, I was in Florida, doing a picture with Howard Hawks, Air Force picture, with about 9 B-17s. They're going to come in at about 7 o'clock in the evening. So what happens? I had all my lights set, and 2 hours before we're going to make the picture, the generator breaks. I went to tow Hawks. Mr. Hawks, we're having trouble. He said, what's wrong? Generator broke down. He says, look, Jimmy, he says, that's not my problem. You're the photographer. So I had to go to the special effects man. Did you bring some flares? He said, yeah, 3-minute flares, right. So I took the flares and stuck them up where the lights were and had my electrician wire them up. And by that time, the planes were coming in. I told him hit the switch, they hit, they all lit up. And it flickered, the smoke blew through because we were supposed to be in an airfield that had been bombed by the Japs. Hawk saw the Russians next day. He said, Jimmy, it's great. Send the generators home. We finished the picture here with flares. This is a scene from a film I made in 1928 called Transatlantic. It was one of my first sound pictures. I used a deep focus for the first time. And by using deep focus, I mean I used wide-angle lenses. It was a 25 millimeter. Also, I use low-key lighting. Low-key lighting is not just by having a low reading overall. Low-key really is having a distribution of highlight and dark shadows. So always keep up your key light to full reading, but let your background go dark. So the area of the picture will create the mood that you want. The faces are up, but the background area is rather down in deep shadows. The most important thing to remember really is to make the light to create the effect and the mood that you want it to create. These moods are mostly dictated not by yourself, the way you want to light, the kind of mood, but it's mostly dictated by the scene and the story and the actors, the way they move. Now, I could go ahead and light a scene my way, and you might light the same scene in your way. Now, if we both do the scene and it's light up well, and it's good, it doesn't matter how we do it, how we approach it. Because we know the technique so well. We've gone through these things. Experience. I think that's what is very important. Experience. It's also to know what not to do. And my God, in my 55 years, I've made enough mistakes to know what not to do. And I still make the mistakes. Because we're always trying, huh? Try this, try that, experimenting. But you take a picture that costs $10 or $15 million, well, you got to have a lot of courage to do a little experimenting, because you stick your neck out. If you stick it out too far, somebody will lop it off. In the early days, we didn't have electric equipment we keep around, what we call booster light. We had to take reflectors like this. Mm-hmm. I was making a picture with Victor Fleming directing. He's the man that directed On With the Wind and all. Great fellow. He used to be a taxi cab driver. We were making a picture of Richard Dix. We're up in Arizona. A Zane Grey story called Call of the Canyon, I think it was. He says, well, fellas, he said, let's go up that hill, because I wanted a silhouette shot of Richard on his horse. Now, we bring our lunches up there, and we eat there, nice, and then when we shoot that shot, and let's call it a day. I said, Vic, you going to have close-ups? No, leave all your reflectors and everything down, because it's too heavy to carry up there. Just bring the lunches. So we did. Everybody packed up, carried a little piece. We got up there, and we had our lunch, and we made the shot. It's nice. Richard Dix looks down into the valley. You see, now, this way is a scene. The story dictates to what you should have. Mm-hmm. He said himself, he said, I don't want a close-up. But when you look down, he needs a close-up of Dick's face looking down and then showing what he sees. Mm-hmm. See, the action dictates that. You can't write ahead of it. So I said, well, he said, I need a close-up of Richard. I said, Vic, I asked you. You said to leave all my reflectors down there. How am I going to light them? He said, that's your problem. Well, this is the day before paper cups. We had tin cups in those days. I would drink water, coffee. So I see those tin cups laying around there. They're all shiny. I said, Vic, how many tin cups can you pick up in your hand? He said, why? Well, let me see. You got big hands. He grabbed it. He said, I can hold 5. I said, fine. Now hold it up and reflect it from the sun. Now get it on Richard's face. And he did. He said, a little shaky. I said, that's all right. I said, but I need more on his clothes. So we called in the grips and burn. They each one picked up as many as they can. And we used tin cups. And I lit that close-up with tin cups. But the movement of it and the pattern looked like the sun was coming through the tree, and it looked beautiful. Wonderful. Much prettier than if I had a reflector. It was original. That's you improvise. I was just thinking all the years, 55, really, 55 years in this business, all the different directors I work with. Oh, there's Howard Hawks, Victor Fleming, Sidney Alcott, Alan Dwan. Late ones is like Frankenheimer, Marty Ritt, brilliant director, wonderful person. But a director's relationship with a cameraman should be very, very close. Have a great understanding of one another.
Because it really was an extraordinary look to that picture. I remember we were picking up the camera and running around and chasing backlight all through the picture.
Right.
We got it, and then all the other films that we did together, I knew that you would understand what I was about and what I meant. Mm-hmm. And even when I wasn't able to articulate it as clearly or as completely as I should have liked to, I knew that you would understand and sweat it out with me and make it possible for me to get what I wanted.
Then the relationship between the cameraman and the director working is not only his work, but there must be personalities too.
But more important than that is the fact that the cameraman somehow, whether he's able to articulate it or not, understands what the man telling the story is about and knows the values that he wants and helps them get those values. Mm-hmm. Now, the first reel of the Molly Maguires was a perfect example. I wanted very much to get a sense of people living in the earth, in the bowels of the earth, away from light, away from home, what that kind of privation meant to those people. And you gave it to me. In all cases, in kind of creating a mood in the scene, after rehearsing, and you see the rehearsal, you sense very, very deeply what's going on with the actors.
That's what I get.
Yes.
When you're rehearsing, Marty, when I watch you, it gives me something for my lighting to create.
And then I see that happen in the change in the light right away. And then the actors feel the quality of the light. The actors know what the director intended by that point. And all of it comes together to give you a kind of atmosphere which makes the whole experience satisfactory. Any film of quality, if you observe, will be a series of atmospheres, a series of moods from one scene to another. So lighting, to me, is very important, but there are many other important things. Is to be able to, how to get along with your director, communicate with them, and with the actors, especially actresses that have good side and bad side. I had one actress that had only one side. So when she came in the door had to open a certain way. When she went out, we had to change the door around so it fit her good side. So the door kept changing, but the audience never realized that.
That's right.
You see?
It's remarkable.
The many things a cameraman has to watch for is not just only lighting, compositions, camera setup, but he's got to communicate with quite a number of people. First of all, the director, then the stars, the leading lady, leading man. I take a script home when I make a movie, read it, make a plan of the style of lighting, then I go and consult with my director. We discuss it, see whether we agree or disagree on points. Many times there's a disagreement, and we make changes. And then next I go to the art director, want to know where the doorway is going to be, the windows, or skylights, you see, and where the lamp's going to be on the wall, on the floor. And then we talk to the set dresser, what color the furniture will get in, to have in. Costume designing, very important, because certain women, certain people, especially women, certain colors becoming to them, others don't. And people react to color. If they get the color that doesn't suitable to them, it reacts. Now, we'll have color now. Everything's movies are made in color. There's very few black and white. The last one was Donovich. I love black and white pictures.
I heard that you like black and white very much.
I think it's much more difficult to light a black and white than color. Colors itself separates. But in black and white, they have different values. Some have same value, only they're different color. A red, dark red might blend in with a kind of a light brown. So we have to know how to separate it. But dramatically, to me, I think black and white is very good, very useful. Sometimes I think color gets in the way.
Well, now, in lighting, HUD, for instance.
Yes.
You shut that down in
Texas.
All right, now that was black and white.
Right.
Now, what did you do there to keep the lighting dramatic?
Well, what I wanted there in Texas at that time was a harsh, hard sunlight with really black shadows. And what I did, I underexposed a little bit. In other words, I exposed for the highlight rather than the shadow. You see, the old school is you always expose for the shadow and let the highlight take care of itself. See? But what I did in that film, I exposed for the highlight a little more to make my blacks a little more blacker.
All right, now what I
see? And then the sky, I wanted to be clean, no clouds. So being a black and white picture, sometimes I select a filter, certain blue, that would blend the sky into the cloud. In other words, you wash out the cloud. I want a starkness.
That is the picture that you won an Oscar for.
I won an Oscar for it, and I liked the picture very much because I enjoyed working with Newman and Martin Ritt, the director, and the boy was very good. And we were down there. It was hot, desolate, not a pleasant place to work in. And the director told me, he said, well, Jimmy, this is the first picture we worked together, and I don't think it's a cameraman's picture. I said, well, to me, it's a very interesting script, and I think we're going to make it dramatically. This picture of HUD with the dust blowing through, you know.
You made it dramatic,
yeah.
Even though he didn't think that you could do it.
Well, he thought that I wouldn't like it because of the harshness. I want to make it.
I see.
He thought that I was a cameraman that liked beautiful pictures. Well, I don't like careful, really beautiful pictures, as say. Now, today they have a zoom lens. Well, in our days, we didn't have zoom lenses. Now, there isn't anything wrong with a zoom lens, Frank. It's a good instrument if you use it properly.
All right, how do you use it properly?
Well, I think most of the people, not most, maybe some of them, they use it in the wrong place. They zoom in and they zoom out, and you know it's a zoom lens. It brings a flat picture up. You can use it by, say, you want to make a little movement, get a wheelchair or something set in it, and get the camera moving, and then you start zooming. Or start panning with your camera, then start zooming. But move the camera first without zooming. Don't have a zoom shot stationary and you zoom in and out. See? And then a lot of times...
You go into it easy.
Yeah, a lot of times it's better to make a cut than to zoom in. Because as you're zooming, you're wasting footage. And people, you're going to zoom up there, so when you get there, it's a close-up anyway. What happens is the zoom. What's the audience going to say? He's slowly creeping up on them? Or what? You see?
Yes.
Now, when you come to the editing room, you might say, oh, gee, I'd like to get there sooner. So you have to cut out and you only get a piece of your zoom. So you got to lay your camera angle, cut with your cameras. You got to know what the relationship from one shot to the other. You can jump cut from a long shot right up to a big close-up to give it dramatic impact, or you can slowly dolly up. You might say, oh, I got a beautiful piece of music background on that. I'll just creep up so the audience won't be aware of this camera movement. See, there's so different ways of moving the camera. It all depends on the scene and the mood and up to the director. I didn't ever thought of the Russian silent film having any influence in my work. As a matter of fact, I don't see many pictures. Only when we have Academy running, I go and see them. Because I just don't like to be influenced by looking at too many pictures. You know, it's just easy to be influenced. I like to go out there, look at the story, and light it the way I think it should be lit. I don't care how other people light a picture. Two cameramen can make the same picture, same story. Each one lights it a different way. But long as it's good, either way, it's good picture. That's what I feel about looking and being influenced about other photographers. It's hard, very difficult. It took me at least 25, 30 years to find out what style, what is my work. Because at the beginning, you're influenced by cameramen you work for. And you see the work. And some of it's bound to rub off on you. Well, you get credit. So, Jimmy, that's a wonderful shot you made there. But you say to yourself, you say, well, you know, I got that from Hal Rawson. I got that from somebody else. It's not mine at all. And eventually, you feel terrible about it. So you got to find yourself. It's like an artist.
Has the film changed over the years that you've been in this?
Yes. We got color, mostly color now, and it's getting faster every day, which is very helpful. And the laboratories are handling it much better, getting a finer grain development. You're always experimenting. You're trying out things. And people ask me, how you do that? Well, I tell them, I don't keep no secrets. Because if I keep secrets, Frank, I'll never mature or advance or get new ideas. When I use it once, it belongs to the public. They'll figure it out sooner or later, you know?
Yes,
So I have to go and search and think out new things. I don't want to repeat myself too much. And after 57 years, I'm getting hard to find new things now, you know? It's what you put on the screen that's in front. As long as you picture it up there and keep your audience interested so he doesn't feel that seat's getting harder and harder, I think that we don't need all this $1 million production. I think that a small group can go out, like we have here, 16mm camera, get a good idea, go out with a couple, 2, 3 reflectors, and then if inside we can use photo floods, we can make a little film. Have fun making it. The enjoyment of making it. The enjoyment of creating something. You see?